I'm Phil, and today I'm going to start a series of projects on the Raspberry Pi, and in particular around the topic of images. So let's have a look at the overall objectives. So I'm going to explore creating and manipulating images on the Raspberry Pi Model 5. I'm going to capture the images from the Raspberry Pi camera. And in particular, I'll look at the changes as a result of the latest operating system, Bookworm. I'll also capture images from the internet, and I'm going to do some AI image generation, both online and offline. And we'll look at some image recognition with TensorFlow, and in particular, TensorFlow Lite. So the applications are in STEM education to make students aware of how they can use the Raspberry Pi to create and manipulate images. And I'll be demonstrating this at both Osbury and robotics and AI. So let's have a look at the hardware. I'm going to be using the Model 5 Raspberry Pi, and in particular, there's a number of these I'll be testing on. The one of priority will be Raspberry Pi 63, which has 16 gigabytes of RAM. And besides the Raspberry Pi, I'll also be adding the cooler and a SSD drive to give me a bit more memory. And that's much faster than just relying on the micro SD. And I'll be putting that SD SSD onto a M.2 hat on the Raspberry Pi. And the one I've got is a dual hat, so I can also add an additional drive or a M.2 AI module. And what I'm looking at here is checking to see how much RAM that I've got available. And I'll also be exploring, can I add pens to my Raspberry Pi? And this is all part of the process of exploring images. The programs I'm going to use in software are Node-RED. And while I was quite active about 5 years ago, everything's changed as a result of the new operating system, Bookworm. So many of the nodes that worked in 2020 no longer work. And what I'm going to do today is update those. So I'll be looking for nodes to replace and nodes to work with images. And these include a simple image node, the OpenAI node, and other nodes to manipulate images. So that's our Node-RED. I'm also going to look at image creation with stable diffusion. And the background to that is that it's a deep learning tool, and it does text to image conversion. And there's a model for using that. It is also going to support in-painting and out-painting, and it will generate the images to image translation guided by text. So I can actually use this as quite a powerful tool and a creative tool for image manipulation. It was released in 2022, and it's based on diffusion techniques and the diffusion model. The developer is in Germany, and they came out of the Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich. And the basis for that, there's a architecture, and while it looks a little bit complicated, it's got three main parts. And the outcome for doing this is to create images. And we'll be using a CPU-only version. So I'm not using any accelerators or a GPU. and we'll have a look at that towards the end of the video series. So that's Stable Diffusion and Coral. I'm going to I've already looked at and published the Coral from Google, and I've got that running on an older version. So we have to actually revert back to Raspberry Pi Model 3 and an older version of the operating system. So this is going to look at tensor processing, and the Coral is how Google has implemented that as a USB device for computers like the Raspberry Pi. And go and have a look at my previous video if you'd like to see that now. So the projects I'll be looking at to start off with are just simply how to get images on the Raspberry Pi. I'll be looking at Node-RED and the slideshow. This will all be done on this video. And the next video, I'll be looking at AI image generators and machine learning. And the videos altogether, there'll be 5 videos in the series. And today's video is part 1. Okay, so let's get started. We'll have a look at the Raspberry Pi, and we're going to do a simple capture. And I'm going to use Python to capture an image on my Raspberry Pi. So we'll go ahead and have a look at that on Raspberry Pi 63. And software-wise, I'll be using Bookworm. I don't need a virtual environment, so we'll just capture that and have a look at it. And I'll go across now, and we'll have a look at that. So here we have the latest operating system, Bookworm, on the Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to demonstrate using the Python program to capture images from the Raspberry Pi camera. So what I'm going to do is go to the top and look at my Raspberry Pi programs, and they should be under here, Raspberry Pi and camera. And I've got 2 already. We're going to pick the Pi camera. It's just version 6. And we're going to open that up under the Thonny Python IDE. So let's open that up now. And you can see the program is actually very simple. It's just calling up the library, Pi Camera 2, and it's going to show the image as test.1. So let's just run it and see what happens. Oh, it's got a picture of me. And the picture has been captured as a file so that we can see that as an alternative. Okay, and that's the Raspberry Pi camera capturing images using a Python program. So I was quite happy with the results of using the PyCam Python program. And if you want more information, go across some excellent resources from the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and they illustrate the complete library on this website. So let's go across now and have a look at Node-RED. And what we're going to do here is look at capturing images. We're going to display images. And I'm going to combine the first 2 in a project, which is capture and display images, followed by using OpenAI Node on Node-RED. So let's have a look at the first one. The objective here is to capture an image, and that image is going to come from either a file on the internet or a file on my Raspberry Pi. I want to display the image, and I also want to generate other images, including QR codes and decode QR codes. Again, the hardware is a Raspberry Pi Model 5, and I'll be also using the same Raspberry Pi. Software-wise, the code looks like this. We might go across now and actually have a look at it. It's on flow 6, and we'll go across and look at that now. So let's have a look at some Node-RED programs. So I've put Node-RED on my desktop. All I have to do is just click that. And Node-RED's quite easy to install on the Raspberry Pi. Just go over to the Node-RED website, and there are specific instructions for the Raspberry Pi. Now, it also acts as a web server. So I'm picking up the Node-RED IDE while it's running on my Raspberry Pi. My Windows PC can pick it up from a Chrome browser. Let's go across and have a look at it. So in this window, we're looking at picking up images either from a file or from the internet. So let's go and have a look at the prompts. So here we've got the same Woolworths store that we'll be looking at on other projects. And here is the image from the Wikimedia website. And that goes into the image node and the viewer. So we might go across, and this is picking up the image from the internet. Let's run that now. And we'll open up on the far right, we've got a debug node. And on the left, we've got the nodes that we can add to our flows and program. So right at the end, we've got the image tools. And what I've done is just to bring them across and just drag them onto my program area. So I might just get rid of that. Let's run it and see what happens. So we're running that one now. It's going across to the internet, and it's going to replace the picture of me with the Woolworths store. So there we go. And if I wanted to go back and show my picture again, it will come up and show that. So this combination of nodes allows us to collect images from either a file on the Raspberry Pi or from the internet. In our last Node-RED program, we're going to go across to a different flow, and we'll just get rid of all the debug messages. And the one we're looking at is the top one. Again, we're looking at the Woolworths store. This is what our Woolworths store looks like at Eastwood. In Eastwood, which is not very far from here. And the data flow that I've got starts off with true, and it has a function here, which is just a simple script that allows us to transmit where the URL is to OpenAI. So we've got a small script here, and that's feeding to the OpenAI. And in OpenAI, you have to put in your key. So this is using a paid subscription. And the outcome of that, we'll see what it looks like. So again, if I wanted to add that to my data flow, the OpenAI, I've got that stored on the left here with my other nodes. And I just simply drag it across. There it is. I've got some under functions. I've got the OpenAI. And what I did was just simply drag that across and configured it. We'll just take it away now. Okay, so what we're going to do is trigger that data flow and have a look at the message that we get from debug 18. So we're generating that now. And we're getting a response that's coming in. Usage. So you can see the number of tokens that I've used. And under choices, we've got the index and the message. And here's our message. And it's telling us all about the image that it's seen on the internet, and that's that image that we saw previously. So here are the results. So if you open up the debug window, which is on the right of the Node-RED panel on Chrome, you'll get the message. And the message here is telling us about the supermarket and the sign, Woolworths. So it's giving us a fairly good description of what's in that image. Okay, so that's how we're using OpenAI to describe an image using the OpenAI node on Node-RED. Another simple tool to use on your Raspberry Pi is just a slideshow. And I found the tool that was most effective to do that was a program available from the Pi Apps website. So we'll be using the same hardware, and I'll be installing the Eye of Mate image viewer. And the execution of that, well, let's go and have a look at it. So once you install it, you've got an image manipulation program, and then just select slideshow, and you've got your own slideshow on your Raspberry Pi. As an alternative, you can run PowerPoint slides using the lib library. So I was quite happy with that. And that concludes the simple programs for our Raspberry Pi. Next, we're going to have a look at the AI image generators. And in particular, we'll look at an offline version and an online version using Stable Diffusion. So that'll be in the next video. And the video after that will be on machine learning. And while we've already done TensorFlow using the Coral on Raspberry Pi, we'll look at teachable machines on our Raspberry Pi computer. And that's it for the time being.